I whispered the words like they were harmless, like they wouldn't shift the ground beneath us. "Maybe we should just stay friends," I said, pairing the sentence with a light-hearted smile that masked the weight behind it. He simply nodded, slow, deliberate, offering no questions, no resistance. His eyes closed for a brief moment, then reopened with a soft, "okay," that hung in the air much longer than it should have. I never expected that would be the last real conversation we'd share, but it was. If you ever try to protect your heart only to watch your own caution destroy something beautiful, you'll understand this. We met through mutual circles, a coincidence that at first felt trivial, but later grew into something I'd revisit over and over. From the start, he wasn't the type I usually gravitated toward. He was grounded, calm, steady, qualities that both intrigued and unsettled me. I was used to chasing fleeting sparks, the highs and lows of connections that felt like temporary victories every time they reignited. But he was different. He didn't try to dazzle or overwhelm me. Instead, he quietly learned the details, how I liked my coffee, how my voice softened when I was tired, how I needed space without asking for it. His presence wasn't loud, it was steady, and that steadiness frightened me in ways chaos never did. Because with him, I didn't have to perform, I just had to be. We never defined what we were. No titles, no declarations. Yet an undeniable current ran beneath every glance, every message that lingered past midnight, every gentle touch as we navigated crowded rooms. It lived in his voice when he spoke my name, and in the comfort I found in simply existing beside him. It was fragile but full of promise, both ordinary and extraordinary at once. But then I unraveled it. One evening, caught in a wave of doubt, I let fear dictate my words. I questioned if I was ready to be seen completely. The unfiltered, vulnerable parts of myself I worked so hard to keep hidden. And before I could stop myself, I said, "I think we're better off as friends." His eyes met mine, and for a moment, everything stood still. He didn't argue, didn't plead. Just a quiet acceptance, like he'd already braced himself for this moment. "Okay," he replied softly. I waited afterward. For a message, a conversation, any attempt to bridge what I had broken. But none came. He didn't block me, didn't post cryptic quotes or attempt to pull me back. Instead, he disappeared as if he'd never existed in my world. In one breath, he had been my comfort. In the next, I was scrolling through pictures of his new life, watching him smile beside strangers, existing in spaces where I no longer belonged. The finality of his silence was far more painful than any argument could have been. I replayed our memories over and over. How he showed up at my door with soup when I was sick, how he listened without interrupting as I vented about my frustrations, how deeply he noticed me in ways no one else did. And I kept asking myself, why did I push him away? Was it the fear of being left first? A desperate attempt to stay in control? Or was I simply too scared to accept that someone could care for me without expecting me to constantly prove my worth? I convinced myself that distance was what I needed. In truth, what I needed was a bravery to stay when things felt safe, to trust that I didn't have to shrink to be loved. But instead, I spoke those words. And he believed me. Perhaps that's the part that cuts deepest. He respected me enough to honor what I said, even if it broke him. Time moved forward. I went on dates with people who didn't understand the small things, who missed a shift in my tone, who didn't catch the way I lost myself in certain books. I smiled. I laughed. I carried on, but none of it dulled the hollow space his absence left behind. Then one night, unable to sleep, I stumbled across an old photo of him. His head thrown back, eyes bright, lost in laughter. It hit me with a sharp ache, not because he was happy without me, but because I realized I never gave him a reason to stay. I had offered partial honesty, dressed up as vulnerability, and called it self-protection. I called it friendship when my heart had wanted so much more. I was too afraid to say it then. That night, I found myself scrolling through our old messages, the tender exchanges, the check-ins, the quiet support. I drafted a message. I didn't mean it. I was scared. "I miss you." I stared at the screen, fingers hovering, then erased it. He may have moved on. He may no longer carry my voice in his memory. Or maybe he does, but has chosen to let the silence speak for both of us. Either way, I can't blame him. What I've come to understand is this. Sometimes just friends isn't a softer landing. It's a sharp edge that severs what could have flourished. People won't always fight to stay, not because they didn't care, but because they're exhausted from proving their worth. If you've ever let fear guide your words, push someone away not out of apathy, but because you felt too much, you're not alone. Next time, before offering friendship as a shield, ask yourself if it's genuine or if fear is speaking in disguise. I thought I was protecting myself. In truth, I only locked myself out of something rare and real, someone who truly saw me. And now, I sit with the silence I chose, the kind that doesn't argue, the kind that teaches you what should have been said if only you dared.